It's loading for YouTube. All right, we are live on our YouTube and recording. Go ahead.
All right, so today we're going to get into this wonderful topic that I'm super excited about entrepreneurship and why it's the coolest thing in the world to be an entrepreneur. There are so many people that don't have the experience of being an entrepreneur, but would be a great business owner, a great, mogul, entrepreneur if they just gave themselves a chance. But they don't give themselves a chance because they're just afraid. And it makes sense. We're all afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of things that we don't have actual experience with. So when I heard years ago that some business owner, or not business owners, but employees really wanted to jump ship from their regular 9 to 5 and buy out a company, but they were just too nervous to do it. It really just made me want to go ahead and do this presentation for them to show them really my experience as an entrepreneur. So to me, looking back as an entrepreneur, it's been easy. It's nowhere near as scary and terrifying as I made it out to be before I started my law firm, before I started owning businesses. But now, in retrospect, right, it's 2020. So we're going to go over why it's really easy to be an entrepreneur, why you don't need to be so afraid like so many people are, okay? Okay, so here we go. The safest way to guarantee the salary that you want. So why are people fearful of entrepreneurship? I think when you're unsure of where your income is going to come from, the future is daunting. You're fearful of not having that steady income day to day, week to week, paycheck to paycheck, not being able to provide for your family, for yourself or your own dreams and goals. There's an enormous fear of failure. And I get it. I get it so much. There is this enormous fear of failure. And we as a society have sort of normalized 9 to 5, employee jobs with salaries or, hourly work or whatever. And not only have we normalized it, but we've made that the expectation, right? So we've treated it as if, that's the best, safest thing to do, okay? But it's actually not. And we're going to get into why that's actually a dangerous thing, working for just one person, or one company rather than working for, many customers and everything. So here we go. So this is the big question, right? To be an entrepreneur or not to be an entrepreneur. So as a W-2 employee, as a regular employee, your finances are not diversified. Okay, why is this such an important term? Diversification is a big term in the financial services world. Okay, so if you hire a financial planner, for example, somebody to take care of your estate, manage it, help you out to invest in things so that you have enough money after you retire. If you choose to retire, at what age you're going to retire at, or if you have children that are handicapped or something are going to need more money for care in the future, all of these types of things, right? They're going to tell you, this financial expert is going to tell you that you need to diversify your portfolio. What does diversification mean when it comes to your portfolio? Your portfolio is all of your financial investments, okay? So they're saying diversify your financial investments. So you should have some high risk stocks if you're like my age, right? You should have some low risk securities like bonds. You should have maybe some real estate that you own, and the real estate, should be, giving you a little bit of income every month from, rent from tenants, or, it's increasing in value because the market for real estate is going up, right? But whatever the case is, they will advise you to diversify as much as you can. That's the reason for that diversification is simple. If one of those pillars of investments goes down, right, what are you left with? Okay, so if you have if you have all of your money in a high risk stock portfolio, like if I invest all of it into, Apple, I've got this Apple iPhone, right? If I put it all into that and the market swings, something happens to Steve Jobs like it did, or, Apple makes this crazy decision and the stock price plummets, or, their factories in China quit creating product for them. I don't know what it is, but if something changes to that one source of my income, I lose all of that stock value. Okay? But um, but if you instead put it into a diverse portfolio where you have backup bonds, you have backup other places, other sources of revenue, right? That's huge for you. Okay, so it's better to be diversified in your financial portfolio. And if we're talking finances, right? So where does your money come from? As an entrepreneur, all of your money comes from how many sources? One. Actually, excuse me, I said that wrong. If you're an employee, how many sources of income do you have? One. If you're an employee, you have one source of income. So all of your money is reliant on market changes. All of your money is reliant on, your bet that that business owner, your boss, or whoever it is not going to, is going to pivot like they need to when the market shifts. Your entire livelihood, your ability to provide for yourself and your children and your loved ones relies on this business owner, doing a great job and nothing happening to that business owner, right? And nothing happening to you. You become disabled, then what are you going to do? You're out of luck, right? You're subject to the other employees. Excuse me, I got to admit all these people. You're subject to the other employees at the company too. Okay, I think they're no. Okay, all right. I think everybody's admitted. Apologies. So as a W-2 employee, your finances are all limited to one, not diversified sort of portfolio, and you could get displaced. This is a big new thing, right? Artificial intelligence is displacing workers all over the place because it's cheaper. It's just cheaper than, workers that need, minimum wage and stuff. And also people in other countries. There's a lot of people working remotely these days. I certainly do. And, people in the Philippines or people in, Vietnam or India, they don't cost as much. So, the employers might hire them out at, 5 times the amount of production because they can hire 5 people for the price of you. So yeah, it's all a risk, right? So I know society is saying that this is super safe, but it's actually much, 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 much safer to be an entrepreneur. So why is it great to be an entrepreneur? Let's talk about this. So you are in control, okay? As a business owner, you have thousands of sources of income. Your customers, okay? However many thousands of customers you have, and in some industries, you have millions of customers. And those are all sources of income. It's not just one, it's thousands, okay? So if a customer decides to move their business elsewhere and no longer give you money, what are you going to do? Is that a scary thing? If you have 2,000 customers and somebody says, I just hate working with you, Jonathan. I think you're an a-hole. I just really don't like you. And it's like, okay, well, I wish you the best, but that's all right. You're not really going to lose sleep over it because you have 1,999 other customers that you still get to serve, that still give you revenue for doing a great job. Okay. So, but it's different if you're a W-2 employee. Then you have one source of income and that's their boss. And if they fire you, that's it. It's over. That's it. Then you've got to have that conversation with your spouse. You got to talk to your kids. You got to, most people feel shame about it. It's worrisome, right? It's a struggle. It's not easy. And, that's the best time to become an entrepreneur because you're diversified. So Here's another example, and this is telling. Most people don't understand this because it's not really taught to you, even in business school. But if you reduce your company's entire income, so we're talking gross income, okay? So if you reduce the company's income by 50%, you as the owner of that company get to decide where staff changes are made, okay? So if I were to ask you, how much money do you think you're going to lose? How much less will you make if you reduce your company's income by 50%? I'm guessing most of you are probably going to think it's 50%. You lose half of your money, right? Your take home cash. That's actually not true. Most business owners that lose 50% of their income to the business lay off employees because they no longer have work for them to do. And then the owner makes the same amount of money or even more because the owner has made a more efficient business. Okay? So just think about that for a second. Even if the market completely, severely changes, if you are the business owner, your income is practically guaranteed. You know? So, all right. So let's look at this too. Banks are in the market, the industry, okay, of bankrolling companies. That what they want to do is give people loans and businesses loans with a return on their investment. Okay, that's their whole profitability. That's their whole industry. That they know when to give an entity a loan and when it's not a good loan because there's such a good chance of the loan getting defaulted on and they don't get their money back. Right? They might file bankruptcy and they won't get back. Okay, so banks are in this business. They are experts at this. Okay, so banks don't give loans to individuals as a preference. They love giving loans to businesses. So think about that. Why would a bank who is in the market for making money be much happier to give a loan to a business than an individual? Because an individual is, willing to work. It's a good person. You can count on their character, all of this. But no, they prefer to give it to the business. They give enormous loans to businesses that have a track record of making money. Okay, individuals, things can happen to an individual. Something could happen to a loved one and they need to jump, states and go over to live with that loved one. Something might happen to them, or maybe they just die. All of these things don't happen with businesses. Even if you lose people, a business has a strong tendency to just continue forward, even if the business owner has something happen to them. So that means that a bank is much more willing to invest in a business. Okay, so if you think about your capacity to make income versus a business's capacity to make income, you are much worse because you're fragile. You're just a human being, but your business has this track record. It has a provable track record of months and months and months and months and months of making money consistently, day in and day out. So banks will lovingly give gobs of cash in loans to businesses, but not to individuals. And they're doing that because they know that a business is a better investment, literally, than an individual. And you should know the same thing. Okay, so I wanted to come up with this example. This is not my experience, but this is a real client's experience. We're calling this client Tom, just to protect, client confidentiality. But these are real numbers. When you start owning a business, you wake up on, January 1st, and Tom, this is a real example. Tom woke up on January 1st, 2017, and he had no idea what kind of money his company was going to make or him for that whole month. He knew that he would probably, sell some of his widgets that his company created and sold, but he didn't know how much, and he didn't know who he would sell it to, and he didn't know when he would sell it to, and he didn't know how he would sell it to them, and all of these questions, okay? You would think if you were just starting as an entrepreneur and this was the case, this would be extremely anxiety provoking. because as a W-2 salaried employee, you're guaranteed to make whatever X amount of money every month, as long as you do a good job. But like we talked about earlier, you're actually not guaranteed that at all. There is a habit and there's a pattern that you can count on, but there's also a habit and a pattern that you can count on owning a business. Okay. So when Tom woke up on January 1st, 2017, he didn't know how much money he was going to make that month. He didn't know. But miraculously, it's actually not a miracle at all. It's normal. His company made $24,893 in that month. Okay. By the time that July 31st, 2017 hit, Tom had made $141,830. Okay. Then by the time January 31st hit, his company had made $378,059. Okay. July, $562,000. January 2019, $739,000. July 2019, $1.8 million. January 2020, $2 million. Okay. So that's the experience of an entrepreneur, of a real entrepreneur. Okay. So I just want this to sit with you for a minute, because if you don't have this experience in your head, you don't expect it to happen. So if somebody gives you an offer to buy a business, or if you want to start your own business, okay, without this kind of experience in your head, you don't know what you're going to do. You don't know where the money's going to come from, but it comes. The money comes. Okay. And you can have faith in that. I have no fear about starting a business right now. And there are times when I'm so tempted to like jump ship and go, join a client on their like amazing venture. I just don't, because I enjoy the loss so much, but I'm tempted, right? But if you called me in 2012, I wouldn't have done it, because I would have been scared out of my mind. I literally had arguments with my spouse at that time about, whether or not we should, make a law firm, or if we should instead, do a traditional 9-to-5 job and like, work on the partner track for another law firm, and she was very much of the mind that it's better to work for somebody else because that was safer. But, I had this inkling that it was not safer, that it was actually safer to be a business owner and be in control. And I could not have been more right. Like tooting my own horn here, but entrepreneurship is great. So these are real numbers, and you need to input this experience into your mind and just know and trust, have faith that when you wake up on January 1st with a new business, yeah, you don't know where the money is going to come from, but the money will come, and different industries have different, volatility and all of this stuff. But if you put in the work, if you, do your mindset stuff, if you call the right people and you put your product out there and you make sure that your customers can see the product and all of that, the money will absolutely come. All right, so as an entrepreneur, you define your future. So money will come in more consistently than a 9-to-5 job because you want it. You decide who you're going to work with, why you're going to work with them, how much you're going to charge, while creating a network of like-minded people. Money coming in the door for a business is a given. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the bank thing. Why on earth would a bank give hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans to businesses when they're not at all willing to give it to individuals? Like I'm an entrepreneur, clearly, right? I literally go to the bank and I'm like, hey, could you please increase my credit card by, my personal credit card by like 20%. Like I just want a little bump in my credit line just to ease on the cash flow or whatever. And they're like, nah, man, no. Like, not going to give that to you at all. But when I asked for it for my company, the increase in the credit line was, like 10 times more what I asked for my personal card. And they gave it to me within seconds. They gave it to me within seconds of asking to the business because the business has a track record. Okay. So money coming in the door as a business is really a given, more so than all of the volatility that could happen to an individual. You know, you get in a car accident, something happens to a loved one, you know, you have a dumb boss that like doesn't pivot and doesn't figure stuff out. So even if your income is significantly reduced, you as the owner make the decision of where and how you can save money so you can cut expenses. You know, you're in control. And, you know, sometimes that saving money doesn't even mean laying off employees. A lot of times it means reducing expenses for unnecessary, you know, vendors, or, you know, you make a more efficient product that costs you $2 per widget instead of $2.50 per widget, which doesn't seem like much, but when you're making, you know, 500,000 widgets every 6 months, that adds up, right? That 50 cents per unit. So you are the person who decides your future, where you're going, and how you're going to get there. And I love this quote by Milton Berle: if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. Okay? All right, so I'm going to wrap it up here. This is my contact info. You're welcome to email me. This is our direct line and email: jsparks@sparkslawpractice.com, 470-268-5234. I'm going to stop the webinar, but I'm going to keep this open in case you guys have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have while you've got me on the line. But you know, just take it from me, entrepreneurship is great and it's far safer. I want to debunk the whole myth that you know, the old wives' tale or whatever it is, that it's safer to have a 9 to 5. It's actually far safer to own a business, in my experience. So if there's any questions, you can either unmute yourself or you can drop them in the chat. And I'll just wait a couple minutes to see if anybody has any questions. Okay, doesn't sound like we do. So thanks for being with us, everybody. We love you, entrepreneurship. Go team, go. If you ever have any concerns, you know, give us a shout. We won't charge you for the call. Much love and respect. Keep rocking, guys.